Now Jennifer might say, see, the birds that she got a year or 2 years ago, 1 year ago, those came from Carol Hicks in Lenore, North Carolina. She's a phenomenal breeder. That's where her Ocelots came from. So she has a line of black Ocelots. Okay? Pat now has black Ocelots. She's got Jennifer's line. In 5 years, becomes a Whitaker line. Alright? When I cross two lines, I take Jennifer's and I take Pat's line, and I cross them together. Okay? The greatest poultry breeders in the history of the United States are when they take a line and they develop it and they never bring stuff from the outside in. Okay? I do not agree with breeding that says, let me have some of Pat's, let me have some of Jennifer's, I'm going to grab some of Todd's and some of Jen's, and I'll throw it all together and see what I get. Let me tell you what you get. Disaster. Alright? So that's what we mean by line crossing. Number 4, crossbreeding is when we take, refers to the mating of different breeds. So when I take a, this is a great picture. When I take a New Hampshire male and put it on a barred rock female, I get what we call sex-linked chicks. You can tell by the color what the males are and the females. The New Hampshire male and the barred rock female, the males are going to have barring. The sex links are going to be those ones that many of you have seen on your own farm. They're black with those gold neck feathers. They call them sex links. That's why. This in the poultry world is called an F1 cross. Actually in our network, that's taking two breeds out of the standard of perfection and crossing them. We actually permit that, and we're going to try and do some of that for the sake of getting them in meat production. Okay, I'll pass this around. But that's what that is of cross breeding. Number 5, pen breeding. That's one male bred to one female. I guess I used that, talked a little bit about that in inbreeding, but pen breeding is one of each of the same breed. Number 6, flock breeding. Multiple birds of one breed, one male to approximately 15 to 25 females. Okay, and just about all the breeds, that good male will take care of 25 girls. And good fertility. Alright? Let me stop there. Questions about those? This is not an exclusive list of breeding systems, but there's 6 of what I think are the most common. Okay?
Jim, I have a quick question. So if you do the line breeding where you have 5 years and it becomes somebody's line, how are you avoiding some of the pitfalls of a narrow genetic pool, like a narrow pool of genetic material?
I'll explain that before we get through this material. Good question. Any other questions on the 6 things there? Okay. Now, I've worked very hard to basically tell you, when you're choosing breeders, there's 3 things that we're looking for. Not 6, not 10, 3 things. Number 1, quality number 1 is vigor. Okay, we're looking for birds that have life and vitality, and we call it vigor. Vigor is a prerequisite, foremost prerequisite. I put there a couple bullet points. These kinds of birds are interested in things going on around them. Example, go chase those buckeye females and watch that male. I mean, he's in the action, okay? He wants to know what's going on. Same would be with any bird or any breed that has good vigor. They walk, they run, they fly, they forage, they scratch, they sing, they cackle, crow, they show sex interest. Okay, birds with good vigor have a broad, long, deep body with good capacity for handling feed and manufacturing eggs. I love this Cornell University study. Look at it. 5 males with good vigor mated 132 times during a 24-hour observation period. Active boys. 5 males with average vigor mated 64 times in 24 hours. 5 males with low vigor 39 times. That is a drastic difference. Okay? And they don't make chicken Viagra, so we're selecting for vigor. Alright? So,
is that assuming you've got like one rooster with 25 hens?
Absolutely.
So,
well, what I'm talking about when we're selecting, okay, for an example, these 3 qualities, And I go to Pat's yesterday. Her birds are 13 weeks, 15 weeks, 12 weeks. Okay. I've only looked at 965,000 last month. So 12 weeks old, we're looking at males that are at 12 weeks old. We're gauging at that age, we're looking at vigor is one of the things that we're observing. So I'm getting down, she does her chick, 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 and all her birds are coming from everywhere, and she's throwing corn out, and she's like, hey, let me put on a show for you, Jim. So I'm just down here, and all these birds are around me, and I'm observing some of that vigor. Okay, it's not the only thing I'm looking for. I'm giving you one of three things, but that is a very, very important part of it. Okay? Characteristic behavior. You'll have to really use your pen here. Under good vigor for activity, they're very active. Poor vigor, they're inactive. Some of this stuff will just be real self-explanatory. But attitude will be alert. Poor vigor, it's going to be drowsy. The voice, they'll be crowing, cackling, singing. You know, poor vigor, that bird will be quiet. Sex interest will, on good vigor, they'll be brave, they'll be gallant. They'll, you know, the poor vigor will have a lack of interest. Okay, a male with poor vigor, if you go back to that survey or that little university test there at Cornell, is birds that are kind of more docile and not sexually interested in females. You're not going to have, remember the whole fertility, hatchability, livability. You're not going to have fertility. Okay. Appetite, they'll eat well when they have vigor, and they'll have a full crop. Poor vigor, they eats little. Roosting, this is a great one. Good vigor, they're up early and retire late. Watch your birds who come off the roost first. Pat's laughing over there because she's.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Yeah, those, you know, they go to bed early. It's like, man, it's going to be dark in a couple hours, but you know, I'm heading in. And then everybody's out, and you go look and you're like, what are you doing here? It's just like, hey, I'm just kind of taking it easy here, all right? That is a huge indicator of vigor for you, males and females alike. Okay? Up early, retire late, poor vigor, spending too much time on the perch, all right? Their body characteristics. Good vigor, broad and round. Poor vigor, going to be long, narrow, and flat. You know, the back, broad and flat. Maybe poor vigor would be like narrow and wedged shaped. The beak, short, heavy, and curved. You know how important the beak is? Very, very important for how much a bird can eat. Okay? A crow head on a chicken is where the beak is literally like a crow. Alright? I need a beak. That's how it can't eat very much. It needs a hook. I even look at that. Very important you learn to look at the beak of turkeys and chickens. Alright? Beak's very, very important part of how much bird, you know. Pat gave me the incredible privilege of destroying a bird that she probably should have destroyed many weeks ago. Okay? It had a, you know, the top of the beak went like that, okay? That bird, she goes, it's always around the feeder. I said, well, you try and eat with that thing. Okay? Tells you the significance of the beak when the bird, and of course I picked that bird up and it was light. Okay? Great lesson for both of us, or for all of us, to learn the importance of that beak. What are we on? Well, beak, poor vigor, long, thin, and flat. The comb of good vigor will be large, bright red, and warm. Poor vigor, it's like small, pale, could be purplish looking. The tail of a bird with good vigor is going to be upright. Poor vigor will be droopy. Okay, now on vigor, remember the head gives a very good indication of the health of the bird. And the plumage of vigorous birds is close, and feathers are well kept. This is when they're young, glossy, unbroken. Vigorous birds generally molt late and quickly. Okay? Questions about vigor? I'm only giving you 3 here, so you don't get massively confused. Second quality is the APA standard characteristics. individuals should be selected that are free from general disqualifications. Okay, there's 3 general disqualifications that are listed in the standard. You don't need to write these down, but one of them is called, well, any disease, okay, should go bye-bye. So we're talking about APA standard characteristics. Any disease, any bird with deformities. I saw a leg the other day at a farm that went about like the beak, but it was the leg. I'm like, okay, you need to be destroying this bird way, way, way early on, okay? I would argue that you go, well, I'm kind of hoping maybe I can take the beak and let it grow better and take the leg up. Now, Aaron is the exception. He's done a few leg surgeries, and Todd's like, look at that chicken walk. Pretty normal, isn't it? Aaron did some doctor, wasn't that your place? So, general disqualifications, okay, is one of the other general disqualifications. Is if it's supposed to have a single comb and it has a P comb, guess what? Bye-bye. Okay? And then or if it lacks breed characteristic. For an example, that Rhode Island Red that I showed you. Whenever you look at a Rhode Island Red, you're looking for a brick type. The male tail should be 20-degree angle. The female should be 10 degrees. If you have a tail that's at 50 degrees in that Rhode Island Red, it's part of the description of the breed. Okay? A lot of times I'm disqualifying birds and say it lacks breed characteristic. You put Rhode Island, you entered it as a Rhode Island Red, and the only reason you call it Rhode Island Red is because it's red, but it has nothing, it doesn't look at all like a Rhode Island Red type. Okay? So that's what we mean by standard. You're going by the standard. Let me just tell you this. I used to not be as straightforward about this. Here's how I can tell if you're a breeder. Number 1, you gotta love to hang out with the birds. Okay, you gotta. It's just like, and part of the love for them, take the dark Cornish in the standard and go, man, I love the dark Cornish. I want to get him back into the meat, to the marketplace. I'm going out to my Cornish and I'm reading, okay, dark Cornish. It says the head. I'm looking out, I'm out with my birds. I got my chicken Bible. The head, moderately large, short, deep, broad, indicating great vigor. The skull should be flat, broader at the front than at the rear, projecting over the eyes. Okay, so I read this, I look at my Cornish. I read about the neck, I look at my Cornish. The neck, it should be medium in length, carried erect and arched, just like that. So I take my standard out and look at my Buckeyes and go, man, I love the Buckeyes. What's the standard say? This is what the bird should look like. This is what Nettie Metcalf had in mind when she developed it in the early 1900s. Okay? So in the standard, you have tail development and angles, earlobe color and shape, eye and shank color, back development and breast, feather quality, weight, etc., etc. Now, way, way back a couple years ago, somebody goes, what's the big deal about the standard? Why does it matter? A couple little bullet points. Why the standard perfection matters. First of all, Francis from Green Bay, Wisconsin said, standard type is production type. Standard, listen to this, fill in the blank, was written when these birds were used commercially. Pre-1950, when the standard or the industrial turkey and the Cornish cross didn't exist, it was the commercial poultry guys who said, this is what a Rhode Island Red should look like. Instead, we listen to the voices that know nothing about breeding a Rhode Island Red, and well, here's one, and the hatchery sends you this chaos. Okay? The breeders who raised hundreds and hundreds of white Plymouth Rocks said this is what they should look like. The Australorps, the Buck Orpingtons, all of those. Okay? So it was written when the birds were used commercially. Also, bottom of the page, each breed was designed for a specific purpose. Very, very important you understand that. You don't go, hey, I'm going to raise white leghorns for meat. The standard tells us every little description. This is what a leghorn was bred for. This is what a Plymouth Rock was bred for. This is how the Delaware came to be. Okay, on the next page, The top breeders of each breed were consulted for the standard of perfection. Now let me ask you this. If Jennifer raised black Australorps for 30 years and Pat had them for 6 months, who do you think should have the most input on the standard? Okay? That's the way it is. It's very, very important.